1 hour can change your life. Let me ask you a simple question. What if the key to changing your life isn't a $1,000 course, a miracle, or some cosmic push from the universe, but just 1 single hour a day? Sounds too small, right? Kind of counterintuitive. Maybe even strange. After all, most of us were taught that success takes pain, sleepless nights, and working yourself to the ground. But what if that's only half the story? We live in a time where everyone's busy, but very few are actually growing. We admire the hustle, but forget about direction. And what does that lead to? Exhausted people making no real progress. People who are constantly putting out fires, but never lighting up any real purpose. Now, what if I told you that real change doesn't start with more hours, but with 1 hour well spent, 1 hour of focus, 1 hour of discipline, 1 hour of presence, an hour you don't trade, don't lend, and don't waste? It might sound like an exaggeration, but I promise you, with just 1 hour a day, you can reshape your body, rewire your mind, increase your income, improve your relationships, and even rewrite your future. And the best part? You don't need anyone's permission. Not your bosses, not the government's, not luck's. That hour is already yours. The world's just trying really hard to steal it. And now it's up to you to decide. Will you let it slip away? Or will you protect it? Will you just survive or finally transform? In this video, you won't hear empty promises. You'll hear principles. You'll understand what few people ever explain. You'll discover a life philosophy that few live by, but the ones who do thrive. So if you're tired of going in circles and ready to take a real step, not into more random effort, but toward purposeful growth, then you're in the right place. Because your next hour could be the first chapter of an entirely new life. Take back the first hour of your day. The first hour of the day. Oh, it holds a kind of power most people never even touch. It's like the rudder of a ship. Move it just a little in the beginning, and you'll change the entire direction of your journey. Now think about it. How many people start their day reacting, not deciding? They wake up after hitting snooze for the 7th time, grab their phones with eyes half closed, and dive straight into someone else's world. Text, social media, news. The result? They lose the chance to lead their own day before it even begins. What could have been a powerful morning ritual becomes chaos disguised as routine. So let me ask you, who's really in control of your first hour? You or the world? But when you take that hour back, something powerful happens. You start managing your time instead of chasing it. You build habits that prepare you for success. That hour isn't for rushing, it's for rising. It's the time when you read 10 pages of a book that shifts your mindset, like The Miracle Morning, Outwitting the Devil, or Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It's when you sit down, take a deep breath, write down 3 things you're grateful for, align your thoughts with your intentions, and see your day with clarity. There's no magic formula, but there is structure, and your body starts to recognize. All right, today, we're heading in a new direction. Now imagine this. You wake up 30 minutes earlier just to move your body. Feel that energy flow through you with a good stretch, a walk outside, maybe even a quick yoga session on YouTube. That alone can change everything. Your breathing resets. Your body wakes up before your mind has a chance to drift off. That's what we call strategic self-care. It's not about having time. It's about making time for the things that shape your future. Because what starts with energy tends to stick through consistency. The real secret? Turn that first hour into a sacred ritual, your moment. A space with no notifications, no rush, no noise from the outside world. Just you with yourself. That's when personal growth stops being a nice idea and becomes a daily habit. That's when you plant invisible seeds that will show up in your attitude, your focus, your identity. And if you think this is unrealistic, just look at the greats. CEOs, athletes, artists, spiritual leaders, they all have one thing in common, a moment for themselves before the world starts shouting. Now don't worry, no one's saying you need to become a monk, but a daily commitment to yourself before giving any answer to the world, that changes the game. Because when you control the first hour of your day, you've already won before you even leave the house. And then, a domino effect begins. Every minute after that starts falling into place. lining up with your choices. But of course, what good is a strong start if you don't protect what you built? Protect that hour like a treasure. Look, when I first started my journey, I was working part-time just to survive and studying part-time to transform. And during that in-between time, I learned something that changed everything. If you don't value your time, the world will use it however it wants. I used to wake up and immediately get swallowed up by the day's demands. But then I met my mentor, RHON, and he said something I'll never forget. Jim, treat your first hour the same way a millionaire treats the first check of the month, with absolute care. That's when it clicked. That hour has to be protected like a treasure. Back then, I would plan my day the night before. But one thing became very clear. The most important hour was the one that came before everything else. Before the phone rang, before the kids woke up, before the world started shouting. And let me tell you something. That hour is not free time. It's reserved time, time for personal growth. Because if you start your day on autopilot, checking emails, scrolling through social media, or listening to bad news, guess what's going to drive your day? Not you, chaos. And chaos doesn't build empires. Then you might ask, but Jim, how do I protect that hour when life is so hectic? Simple. Schedule it. Treat it like a meeting with the CEO. Make it clear to your family, your co-workers, even to yourself. This hour is mine. When I first started giving talks, I used to say, if you want people to respect your time, you've got to be the first one to do it. That's the foundation of self-responsibility. You can't blame the world for crossing a boundary you never set. And here's the thing. At first, people will push back. They'll try to sneak in with just one quick thing. But remember, if you give in once, they'll learn they can take your hour anytime. Back in my day, the biggest thief of focus was a telephone. Today, it's your smartphone. Yesterday, it was a doorbell. Now it's the flood of notifications. The thieves have changed, but the theft is the same. And the damage? It's invisible. You lose clarity. You lose focus. You lose your creative edge. But when you guard that hour, something shifts. You begin to lead your day, not chase it. Now, protecting the hour is just half of the equation. What you do with it matters just as much. Because there's no point in saving time if you waste on distractions that only feel productive. I remember when I started writing down my thoughts first thing in the morning. Nothing fancy, just a plain notebook. In it, I jot down ideas, lessons from the previous day, short reflections. That little habit, it changed my life. It felt like tuning an instrument before the concert starts. And my friend, what a difference it makes when you walk into your day in tune. Direction before action. Back at the start of my career, I used to run around all day, rushing here, rushing there, always busy, but rarely making real progress. Until one day, my mentor looked at me and said, Jim, you look like a guy climbing a ladder really fast, but it's leaning against the wrong wall. That hit me like lightning. I was in motion, but with no direction. And let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. If you're heading in the wrong direction, none of that effort matters. Action only becomes powerful when it's aligned with clarity. That's why, before you do anything, you've got to stop and ask yourself, where am I going? It sounds simple, I know, but that's exactly what most people never do. They wake up, rush through breakfast, hit traffic, reply to 50 messages, and they call that being productive. That's not progress. That's just noise. Real progress comes when you take 5 quiet minutes at the start of your morning routine to align your inner compass. Grab a notebook and ask yourself, what do I want today? Why does it matter to me? That little habit, done alone in silence, can shift your entire year. Back in my day, I used to do this with a simple yellow legal pad. You know those old school notepads? That's all I had. And every day, I'd write down 3 things. My main goal, what I was going to do to move toward it, and why it mattered. It sounds basic, and it is, but it was powerful. That habit gave me a sense of purpose, of intention. It cut through all the noise. It gave me direction. And when you have direction, you don't get lost, even when the path changes. The truth is, Most people live in repeat mode, not build mode. They wake up and repeat the same habits, same mistakes, same results. Why? Because they act without thinking. And thinking, my friend, thinking before you act is what separates the laborer from the architect. The laborer lays bricks. The architect draws the blueprint. So the question is, do you want to be the one lifting or the one designing? Clarity is the map. Action is the vehicle. And without a map, you could be driving a luxury car and still end up lost on the wrong road. Now, if you're already asking, but Jim, what should I do first with that hour? That's a great sign, because the answer is already inside you. Pick something that pulls you forward. Maybe it's building a new skill. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's learning about investing. Maybe it's planning that personal project you've been putting off. Whatever it is, make sure that action is connected to your purpose, your vision, your future self. Because when you move with direction, even the smallest step becomes extraordinary. And that, my friend, is when you're finally ready to learn with depth. Learn for an hour, grow for a lifetime. You know, one of the most powerful things I ever heard from my mentor was this: Jim, formal education might get you a good job, but self-education, that can make you rich. And he wasn't just talking about money. He was talking about richness of vision, mindset, identity. I'll never forget it. I started my journey just reading 30 minutes a day. And over time, that half hour turned into a full hour, one sacred hour dedicated to personal growth. By the end of a year, that small daily habit became more than 300 hours of evolution. Most people think they need to go back to school to learn something new. But let me tell you a simple truth. Knowledge is already out there, on bookstore shelves, in free podcasts, in affordable courses, just waiting for you to reach for it. When I discovered authors like Napoleon Hill, Benjamin Franklin, and even Solon from ancient Greece, my mind expanded in ways I never imagined. All it takes is 1 hour, intentionally and with focus, to feed your mind with better ideas than the ones you had yesterday. Want an example? If you're trying to improve your communication, start with How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Try and understand money? Go read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Want to dive into the mind and human behavior? Outwitting the Devil is a game changer. That's the beauty of self-education. You choose what you want to learn, and that gives you power. And if you commit to that hour every single day, you'll be amazed at how much you grow in just 1 year. You'll speak better. You'll think clearer. You'll make stronger decisions. That's what real, lifelong learning looks like. Learning with action. Now, here's a little friendly warning. Don't confuse learning with entertainment. Reading just to read, or listening to podcasts just to pass time. That doesn't change anything. You've got to choose with intention. Why am I studying this? How can I apply it today? My mentor used to say, reasons come before results. And I carry that with me to this day. Because when you learn with purpose, knowledge starts to line up with your vision. It stops being just a hobby and becomes a bridge to your freedom. And here's the best part. No one can take that knowledge away from you. You might lose your job, your car, even your money. But what you've learned, that stays with you forever. It's the safest, most profitable asset you'll ever own. But let me say one more thing. There's something even more powerful than learning. It's doing something with what you've learned. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't pay you for what you know. It pays you for what you do with what you know. 1 hour of practice is worth more than 10 hours of theory. Let me tell you a truth that might sting a little at first. Knowledge that isn't applied is just mental decoration. You can fill your bookshelf, listen to 10 podcasts a week, follow every guru online. But if you don't turn that into concrete action, your life stays exactly the same. I used to say this in my seminars. It's not what you know that changes your life. It's what you do with what you know. And believe me, once I truly understood that, everything began to change. I remember a young man who came up to me after a talk in Dallas. He said, "Mr. Rohn, I've read 50 books on sales." And I replied, "That's great. How many sales calls did you make this week?" He lowered his head. That was it. Theory without practice is like a car with an engine but no fuel. Practice is what turns information into skill, skill into results, and results into confidence. Growth happens in the doing, even if you start small, even if you mess up at first. So, if you're learning how to speak in public, get on stage. Even if your only audience is the mirror. If you're studying finance, open an investment account. Start with just $10. If you're reading about leadership, start a real conversation with your team. Perfection doesn't come before practice. It's born out of intentional repetition. And don't worry about looking like a beginner. We all start at zero. Even I, who would later speak to crowds of thousands, started by presenting products in a room with 3 people, and one of them was my mom. And here's something else. Don't wait to feel ready before you take action. That feeling? It rarely shows up. Real confidence comes from seeing yourself in action. When you practice daily, you're proving to yourself that you're capable, and that changes everything. It changes how you show up in meetings, how you handle challenges, how you make decisions. The goal isn't to get it right the first time. The goal is to keep going, even when you get it wrong. Because every attempt is a brick in the foundation of your identity. But here's a point most people forget. Practice takes energy, and there's no use trying to give your best effort. If your body is weak, your mind is tired, and your vitality is drained. And that's why the next hour we're about to talk about is one that most people overlook, but it's the one that transforms absolutely everything around you. Reflect, improve, and repeat. When I was younger, I used to think the secret to success was just to keep moving forward. Do. Keep going no matter what. But then one day, my mentor said to me, "Jim, you need purposeful pauses." A man who never stops to think risks repeating the same mistakes forever. That hit me hard. And that was the day I learned the power of reflection. You don't improve just because you keep going. You improve when you look back, assess what you did, and decide to do it better. That daily habit took me from stagnation to construction. So here's a simple but powerful practice. At the end of your hour of growth, take just 5 minutes to reflect. Grab your notebook, find a quiet spot, and ask yourself, what did I learn today? What did I do well? What can I do better tomorrow? That honest conversation with yourself, that's where clarity is born. And clarity is what separates amateurs from professionals. I used to do this every night, with a warm cup of tea in hand, thinking about how I could adjust what didn't work. That's how I grew, not just through experience, but through evaluated experience. Reflect like a pilot. You know how planes adjust their course multiple times during a flight? That's because they're constantly being monitored. And even with all those little corrections, they still land exactly where they need to. Why? Because there's reflection, correction, and consistency. It's the same with life. You don't need massive leaps, just small daily adjustments. A better thought here, a refined habit there. Cut out one distraction over here. And before you know it, just a few weeks later, you're a different person. Not because of magic, but because of awareness. Improvement doesn't mean starting over every time. It means tuning the instrument. A musician doesn't throw away the violin every time they hit the wrong note. They tune it. Same goes for us. Tune your time management. Tune your morning routine. Tune your daily discipline. Sometimes, just changing what time you wake up can transform your entire productivity. Other times, it's as simple as not checking your phone before your sacred hour begins. Small corrections, huge impact. And if there's one thing life has taught me, it's this: power lies in repetition, but not in mindless repetition. In repetition with intention. Success loves consistency with awareness. And when you make reflection, improvement, and repetition part of your daily rhythm, progress becomes inevitable. But here's something you can't forget. To keep repeating with quality, your body has to keep up with the pace. Because a sharp mind without a healthy body can't go far for long. One hour of health a day. You know what I learned after traveling the world, speaking in dozens of countries and talking to thousands of people? It's this: Big dreams mean nothing if your body can't keep up. I've seen people with huge goals and almost no energy. And let me tell you, without energy, even the best goal becomes a burden. My mentor used to say, "Jim, take care of your body the same way you take care of your reputation, with attention and respect." And I took that seriously, because your body is the vehicle of your success. Without it, the journey simply doesn't happen. For years, I followed a simple rule: 1 hour of movement a day. It didn't have to be a marathon. Sometimes it was a walk in the park. Other times, just some stretching while listening to a good audiobook. The goal was to keep the blood flowing, the lungs breathing well, and the body reminded, I'm alive. It's not about becoming an athlete. It's about cultivating vitality. Because when your body wakes up, your mind wakes up too. And the opposite is also true. A weak body leads to a lazy mind. Here's something important. Taking care of your health is part of your business. I used to tell this to entrepreneurs and leaders all the time. Don't neglect your body thinking it'll always keep up. The bill for that neglect always comes, and with interest. It might show up as constant fatigue, pain, anxiety, or preventable illness. And most people only value health when it's already slipping away. Prevention is always cheaper than repair. A little daily exercise, clean eating, hydration, quality sleep, it all sounds small until the day you don't have it. Now, if you were to ask me, Jim, where do I even start? I'd say start small, but start now. Wake up 30 minutes earlier and stretch. Take a 20-minute walk while listening to a personal development podcast. Swap one processed meal for something lighter and more natural. You don't need to become a nutrition expert. You just need to make better choices, one at a time, because small wins stacked daily create a healthy life. And a healthy life is what fuels a long and fruitful journey. And you know what happens when health becomes a priority? Your productivity skyrockets. You think faster. You feel less tired. You make clearer decisions. You become someone who gets more done, handles more pressure, and still has the energy to dream big at the end of the day. But here comes the part most people never talk about. With this new body, stronger, more alert, you gain the ability to fully use the most overlooked hour of all, the one that can create real wealth, even in complete silence. The quiet hour. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned in life is this. Real growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in silence. You see, I've spoken to thousands of people from stages all around the world, but the biggest decisions of my life, they were made at night when everything was quiet. No TV, no phone buzzing, the world asleep. And there I was, leaning over my notebook, scribbling ideas, dreaming about the future. My mentor used to say, Jim, it's in the quiet hour that you build what no one sees, and tomorrow the world will admire. For years, I followed a simple practice. After dinner, I would set aside 1 hour that belonged only to me, while most people were unwinding on the couch. I'd open my notebooks, review my plans, write down my goals, organize my thoughts. And let me be clear, this wasn't about being obsessed with productivity. It was about recognizing that this hour was my chance to build something that didn't depend on my boss, the government, or the economy. It was my hour to plant the seeds of independence. Your quiet hour can be used to learn a new skill. Maybe a language, finance, public speaking, programming, or anything that strengthens your personal brand. It can be the time you use to build a side project, draft a business plan, record a video, write a book, or even sell your first product online. Today's technology gives you the power to start your own business with almost nothing. You just need one thing: intention. You don't need more time. You just need to use the time you already have better. I still remember the first few lines of content I ever wrote. They weren't impressive, but I gave myself permission to start small, and it was in the quiet of night that my style was born, my voice was shaped, my identity began to form. Most people wait for the perfect office, the expensive camera, the ideal setup. But those who start in the quiet hour with what they have end up building more than those who wait for perfect conditions. And do you know why? Because silence gives you something noise never will: focus and clarity. Now, here's the key. The quiet hour only works if you treat it like an asset. It's not leftover time. It's investment time. And if you invest in it consistently, you'll start to see the compound interest of your efforts show up. And here's the most beautiful part. When you build in silence, you begin to harvest in public, but with a stronger heart, a clearer mind, and room for something that most people overlook, something that's the real treasure of this life. People. Relationships matter. I've seen people who built wealth, fame, even power, and yet, deep down, felt completely alone. And I've learned, sometimes through pain, that no level of success makes up for failure in your relationships. My mentor once told me, "Jim, don't build a ladder so tall that when you finally reach the top, you realize no one climbed it with you." That's why I always made it a point to set aside quality time, intentionally, to nurture what really matters: connection. For years, I traveled constantly, giving talks around the world. But there was one non-negotiable commitment I kept. 1 hour a day to be fully present with someone I loved or admired. And I don't mean being physically there while your mind is somewhere else. I mean active listening, real conversations, eye-to-eye presence. I called it the hard hour. Time to listen to my wife, to write a letter to my brother, or just to sit down and have a coffee with a friend. No distractions, because you can buy comfort, but trust, love, and empathy, those are built with presence. And that hour isn't always full of words. Sometimes it's just sitting beside your child while they draw. Sometimes it's walking in silence with your partner. Presence speaks louder than speeches. And let me tell you something. In life's hardest moments, and they will come, what will hold you up isn't your resume. It's who's standing beside you. Healthy relationships are like roots, invisible but essential. So here's a practical piece of advice. Choose someone today and give them 1 hour of your time. It could be a mentor you want to learn from, a friend who feels distant, your parents, your spouse, or your kids. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be real. Put your phone away. Close the laptop. Look them in the eye. Be fully there. Because every hour invested in a relationship is a seed of emotional wealth. And a life that's emotionally rich is the foundation for every other kind of success. And here's something beautiful. This practice doesn't just strengthen your bond with others. It strengthens you, because the more you invest in people, the more connected you become to your own purpose. And the more presence you give, the more meaning you feel. But time doesn't stop. And once you truly understand the value of 1 hour with someone, you begin to see the value in every other hour you have. And that prepares you to build something even greater. Stack the hours. One of the greatest discoveries of my life was this: the extraordinary is built by repeating the ordinary with excellence. I remember when I first got into personal development, I thought I needed to take a massive leap. But my mentor taught me, "Jim, you don't need a leap of faith. You need a stack of well-used hours." That's when it clicked. The secret isn't working harder. It's working with consistency. 1 hour a day, every day, no exceptions. Now, let's look at the power behind that. 1 hour a day becomes 7 hours a week. Multiply that by 52 weeks. That's over 300 hours in a year. That's more than 7 weeks of focused effort. Can you imagine what you could do with that time? You could learn a new language, write a book, transform your health, start an online business, deepen your spirituality, but only if you stack the hours, one on top of the other, like bricks building a castle. I remember a young man named David who used to attend my seminars. He was shy, quiet, but his eyes were full of purpose. One day, he made a decision. He'd spend 1 hour a day practicing public speaking, alone, in his room, speaking into the mirror. 1 year later, he was on stage, speaking to 500 people. What changed? He stacked the hours. Each hour was a vote he cast for his own transformation, a vote for discipline, vision, and purpose. The problem is, most people underestimate the small. They say, it's just 1 hour, but life is made of just 1 hour. plus another and another. And one day, you look back and realize you become someone completely different. Not because you did something huge, but because you did the basics consistently and with excellence. Consistency builds what intensity can't sustain. And when you stack your hours with focus, you turn habits into identity. Yes, there will be days when you fall off track. You'll miss your hour, get distracted, feel lazy. And that's okay. You're human. What matters is that you come back, that you keep stacking, because time is passing either way. And one day in the future, the question won't be, did you dream big? It'll be, did you use your hours well? Because when you stack your hours with wisdom, discipline, and intention, you don't just build a new routine, you change your life. So now, the ball is in your court, because everything you've heard so far, it's not empty motivation. It's not some magic formula. It's proven wisdom. It's applied philosophy. But here's the truth. Knowing changes nothing. Doing changes everything. So the real question is, what will you do with your next hour? Will you let it slip away? Or will you claim it as the first block in your brand new future? Let me ask you this. What would happen if you set aside just 1 hour a day for 30 days? 1 hour to read, to practice, to take care of yourself, to build, to connect. What would change in your life? And more importantly, who would you become? Because the truth is, you don't change the world by doing everything at once. You change the world by changing your hours. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these habits are you going to start tomorrow? Tell me in the comments. What hour of your day will you protect like treasure? What new habit will you start stacking? And most of all, who do you want to become through intentional use of your time? Let's talk. This channel is a space for people who want to live with direction, not just distraction. And if something inside you clicked while watching this, if a spark was lit, then I've got one final invitation. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep walking this path with me. Because here we don't sell shortcuts. We hand out maps. And if you follow this path, 1 hour a day, my friend, a year from now, you won't even recognize yourself.